Maybe big data has gotten too big. Whether you're a B2B marketer or a consumer brand, your data needs to be viable, relevant, and accessible so that Stirista can help you retain customers, acquire customers, and make it personal.
Welcome to the Marketing Stir podcast by Stirista. Probably the most entertaining marketing podcast you're going to put in your ear. I'm Kevin, the producer here at Stirista. The goal of this podcast is to chat with industry leaders and get their take on the current challenges of the market, and maybe have a little fun along the way. In today's episode, Alicia Wiedemann, partner and head of client strategy at Summer Friday, joins us to give her insights in founding Summer Friday, building a talented marketing team, and ensuring social awareness in the work they produce for their clients.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of Stirista's The Marketing Stir. I, of course, am your host, Vincent Petrofessa, the Vice President of B2B Products and Partnerships here at Stirista. I am extra happy today. Extra happy, but you're always happy. I am. Yes, as you know, and you've pointed out to me, as I just ran into so many people at Advertising Week telling us how much you love the podcast, how much you love AJ and I, and people are like, are you really like that together? And then they finally meet us together at Ad Week and they see we're exactly like that. AJ and I were playing jokes on people. We were told people David Beckham was there. We'll get into that in a moment. It was fun. There was a little Netflix booth on the new David Beckham documentary, which I'm watching. It's very good. And we were walking in. They're like, oh, you just missed David Beckham. He was just here. Really? He wasn't, but we just played some jokes on people. We're like that in real life. This is no act. And our guest knows that about me too. So we'll get to her in a moment. That's why I'm happy. One, my co-host is back. You've missed him for a few episodes. He's busy. The guy's traveling. And two, the guest, a friend of mine. One of my favorite people. Two favorite people on one podcast, ladies and gentlemen. We are excited. But before that, let's just talk about Stirista for a few seconds. That's all. We don't accept advertising on this podcast. Let's talk about Stirista. Marketing technology company. We own our own business-to-business data, business-to-consumer data. Through our technology, we help companies get to that data to help them get new customers. New customers are awesome. We have our own email sending platform, our own DSP, connected TV, OTT, display. Email me, vincent@stirista.com. That is how confident I am. I just gave you my email. And boy, do you use it. Again, I mentioned I'm so happy he's back here. I got to hang out with him, not as much as I wanted to. Just a quick trip into New York City. Hopefully we'll get him back for the holiday season, because what's the holidays without AJ Gupta, ladies and gentlemen, my co-host. What's going on, AJ?
Vincent, good to be back on the podcast. I know you've been handling the load yourself for the last month, but I am glad to be back at home for a stretch of 2 weeks as well. So I look forward to having a couple more of these.
Yeah, people have been missing you. You know, where's AJ been? I'm like, all right, man, what about me? But it's okay. But I'm happy that you're back. You were busy though. You were traveling. You had like a crazy schedule, but you were doing, you were in New York. You were at a Washington Commanders game for which the New York Giants just beat. Don't forget about that friendly wager we had. So, and Serge, if you're listening, don't forget about that wager. But it is glad that you're back. Are you back through the holidays, or are you doing a little more travel?
I am at least here for 2 weeks. So, and then I'll see if I am mentally feeling up to traveling again. But for now, I'm going to stay put, turn down a couple of conference invitations, as tempting as they were. But I did go to Charleston right after New York City for the first time in my life. Nice city. I'd never thought of even going there.
After you mentioned Charleston, I was walking through Penn Station and here in New York City, and Charleston must be doing a huge push for advertising. It was all over. I'm like, that's a sign. We've got to go back. We've got to do a Stirista event there. We've got to do something out in Charleston. You were telling me how much fun you had there and productive meetings. So that is great. Also, great job on the panel. AJ did a great job hosting for the second year in a row at Ad Week. It was Ad Week now. It didn't have as many people as the Paris Hilton one that she hosted, but it was a good turnout, sold out turnout, people waiting in line. I love it. And we had a nice dinner afterwards with one or two of those same panelists who came out with us. It was great. It was a good time. So good job.
Thank you. Appreciate it, Vincent.
Mm-hmm. And also, as I mentioned at the beginning of the podcast, we're happy AJ's back. But this next guest, I have known this next guest for almost 4 years now. She and I serve on the Marketing Club of New York board. We volunteer our time. She has been our amazing president there. And I met her the first time I met her was introducing her on the Silver Apple Awards stage as our new president. That's when we met. I was the MC of that event. But more importantly than that, she, her own organization, Summer Friday. She's the partner, head of client strategy at Summer Friday. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about the Marketing Club of New York. We're going to talk about so many amazing things. Please welcome Alicia Wiedemann. What's going on, Alicia?
Hi, Vince. Hi, AJ. It's great to talk to you guys.
It's always great to talk to you. And, I talk to you a lot. I don't see you as much as I want to, but we will see each other coming up. We have an awesome event December 18th, for which Stirista is actually a sponsor of every year. We do the Comedy and Cocktails event hosted by yours truly in Manhattan. So December 18th, I'll see you, Alicia, there.
I'll be there.
Yeah, it's gonna be great. How are you? I have not talked to you. What's going on in your world?
I know it's been a while. It's been a while, but things are going great. Lots of moving pieces, lots of new things coming out, but everything's going really well.
That's awesome. Let's get right into it, Alicia. Let's talk about Summer Friday. Love the name, by the way. We'll get into that. It's such a cool name. It makes you smile every time you hear the name. Tell us about Summer Friday, what it is, and then your role, your partner, and then you're working in strategy. Talk to us about it.
Yeah, so Summer Friday is a small boutique agency. We're completely virtual, so I can't officially say we're based in New York, but a lot of us are out of New York. We focus on strategy, obviously, which I oversee, and creative in all channels. So everything from video production to digital design and print design as well.
That's awesome. Yeah, I love the people over there. I've gotten to meet so many great people from Summer Friday in person. Patricia, Michael, Rob, you, of course, because again, some of the right in the New York area and doing amazing work there. A staple question we have, Alicia, is how'd you get started in this business? How'd you get started in marketing? What was it? Were you on the creative side first? Talk to us about that journey.
Yeah, so I originally thought I wanted to go into PR. So my first internship was PR. I got to work at Radio City Music Hall in Madison Square Garden in the fall season. So I got to manage the Rockettes and take them on the Today Show and all this really cool stuff. I got to go backstage of a bunch of concerts, some really interesting ones. And you know what? I hated it. I hated the whole thing. I thought, if I don't like PR here, I'm pretty sure this is not the business for me. So I quickly pivoted. It was my senior year. I quickly pivoted over to marketing and more on the advertising creative side at first, and then kind of traveled through all facets of marketing over the last few years. But I love everything about it. I love the various personalities inside the agency and certainly inside the clients. I love working in the strategy, so I can do research and dig deep and get to kind of the heart of what a brand is and who's behind it and how to really build a plan that resonates deeply with clients.
Tell us a little bit about the origin story for Summer Fridays.
So that's an interesting one. So we were founded in April of 2020. So if you can put your mind at that time period, it's pretty predominant in most people's minds, I would say. We were at a smaller company. It was about 150 employees, and it was owned by two older gentlemen, and they decided they just didn't want to work and try to run an agency through whatever was happening in the world at that point. With the pandemic, everything was just a little too crazy. And so they shut down overnight. in an email to the entire staff, just gone. So, three of the other mid-level, senior level managers and I, had many conversations and said, this doesn't make sense. We have so many good client relationships. We have so many great employees. We are not ready to throw in the towel. We don't want to start over somewhere else. I had been there 10 years, had really worked and moved up. I was head of client services there. It was really frustrating for us. So we said, you know what? Forget that. We have the client relationships. We know the business. We know the employees. We've been managing them for years. We're going to take this and do it ourselves. So 24 hours later, we started reaching out to employees. We started reaching out to clients. And before we knew it, within, I think, 48 hours, we had 14 employees and 2 Fortune 500 clients, Fortune 100 clients. So we started with that. And we have, we have probably 8 pillar accounts now and 43 employees.
Oh, that's fascinating. I'm sure Vincent knew the backstory, but I had no idea. And what a time to do it too, at that juncture.
I'll never forget sitting there with my kids at the kitchen table where I was working from the kitchen table because I didn't have an office at home. And I'm sitting there with my kids on school Zoom and me on the phone with clients and employees and saying, no, it's going to be okay. We're fine. We're going to do our own thing. We're going to pick up your business right where I left off. You're not going to miss a beat. It was just a crazy, crazy time.
And I'm sure it was a lot to process when it all was going down. But looking back, were there elements that you thought would have been difficult that were easier? And then were there elements that you thought would be easy that turned out to be pretty difficult?
Yeah, I think at first I was not as excited to dive in and own my own company. My parents were both entrepreneurs. I got to see the emotional impact of that and the financial repercussions that could happen of that. And it was just never something I really wanted to do. The ad business is not an easy business, I would say. I wanted to move up in a company. I didn't want to really start my own. So it was pretty interesting. But that first year especially was way easier than I would have ever anticipated. It's a crazy way to happen, but it also really helped just generate excitement from everybody from day one. We had clients that were like, it's okay, you don't have a business name. We've got your back. And I'm talking like Fortune 50 clients that are just like, it's okay. We'll be here when you're ready. We'll sign the paperwork when you're ready. We'll cut the first check whenever you're ready. We've got your back. And employees that were the same way. They were just happy to not be lost, I think, and happy to find a home that they were excited about.
And Alicia, because you and I are at different events together, I've met some of your employees, but I also met some clients through some of these events, and you could tell how much your clients love you. That's so apparent in the work you're doing. But for the audience listening, what are the specific services that are offered at Summer Friday? And then are those solutions in place for like specific industries that you work with? Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, I would say from a solutions perspective, anything on the creative or strategic side. And so anything from research, comms planning, persona development, journey mapping, things like that. Creative, like I said, video production, we have producers, animators, editors on staff. And then anything in the digital space like web design. We're also really clear with what we don't do. We don't do media, which is why we work with you guys a lot. We don't do back-end development. We have great partners there. So, I think that's one reason we have great relationships with clients is we don't pretend to be things we're not. But the other core thing is we're actually pretty picky about taking clients on. Because of, the passion with which we were founded. And like I said, not just with us as partners, but as with our staff. We'd all kind of come from, quite a bit more negative experience. And we really wanted to make sure that anybody we brought on as a partner, as a client, was going to be a true strategic partner, long-term partner. was not going to look at us or treat us like a vendor or be demeaning to employees. And I think, going through an experience where I've seen, frankly, really bad clients abuse employees, and then you lose great employees. And I've watched so many great employees leave over that we've just learned the money today from clients or, any specific SOW is not worth it, as painful as it can be.
I love hearing that. And it's oftentimes you're right, because sometimes it's not all about the money. It's like the right partnerships, the right clients. I wholeheartedly agree with that, because you're like, oh, I could take this order, but the expectations are crazy. They're going to be hard to work with. I feel that. So is that kind of like, when working with a client, what is the ultimate goal, Summer Friday, in regards to what you want to produce for a company?
I think the ultimate goal is the partnership. I think on my dream list is clients that let us really flex our creative skills and our strategic skills. So clients that let us do the research to dig deep and take the time to dig deep and find, one of the things we really focus on is finding that intersection of what the brand wants to be, and what products they want to sell with what the need state of the customer is today. I think a lot of people don't spend enough time on that. They fill the ad space. It could be a pretty piece of creative, but understanding the psychology underneath it is really important. So finding clients that are open to that, and really let us flex those muscles.
What's kind of the work environment like at Summer Fridays now that you're, since like COVID has not gone away completely, but somewhat normalized at least?
Yeah, so we are completely virtual. So we meet twice a week as a full team. Once that's a little bit more business to kind of run through what's happening. Once as fun. We have an element where we actually do a cultural trends analysis in that meeting, where we understand what's happening in the world and how's that impacting decisions that are being made. Once a month, we started about 6 months ago. Once a month we meet, we book a room in Chicago, we book a room in New York, and anybody is welcome to come to any of those offices. And we meet and we have what we call lunch and learn. We'll go through different topics, whether it's research reports that we are putting out. Last month, we put out an analysis of Gen Z and how that's impacting corporate America, both from an employee perspective and a buying perspective, and a goals perspective. Their goals are just completely different from anyone else in previous generations. So we try to meet up like that. And then once a year, we do either a party or a retreat. This year, we did a 3-day offsite retreat where we hiked and we painted and we partied. And we worked a little, but just a tiny bit.
That's how retreats should be. I've seen some of the bad retreats.
Yeah, that's great. I actually had an employee pull me aside at the end, and he said, "I think this is the most fun I've had in 10 years."
And what does next year look like for you? Any big plans or changes coming up?
Yeah, so the Gen Z report that I mentioned is the first of a series we're working on. Like I said, we really try to spend time focusing on that intersection between, individual need and brand view of brand vision. To do that, though, what we've learned over the years is you can't start with a client brief. So we have a whole team that's focused on doing research in the market around, different things that pop up that we see come up in social, different trends that emerge, and then digging deeper into what that means and what the impact is. So we have our next one coming out is on AI and healthcare. We have some research coming out on the over planning post-COVID to try to make up for time and the implications of that. And I'm just really excited that we have the team in place now and the ability to just really pursue any random curiosity that we have and be able to dig into it.
Alicia, in the advertising industry, and also just really seeing it recently at Adweek, there's an increasing focus on the social and cultural implication of major branding and advertising campaigns. How is Summer Friday ensuring social awareness in the work that you're doing for your clients?
Yeah, there's two things. One is the cultural trends to understand what's happening and how we can fit ourselves into that. And then the other thing is really making sure that we are completely inclusive in everything we do. And so we actually just probably 3 months ago launched a product we call Vantage Point. We've run it now with 2 different clients. What it is a creative review board. So any piece of creative that hits the market goes through a review of about 150 people that call out if there's any red flags. Essentially, is there anything that we didn't think of when the 10 people that touched it to this point or 20 people that touched it to this point hadn't thought of. So it's it's essentially a culture check, a DEI check to make sure that we never put anything out that's inadvertently offensive.
And this question I love. It's near and dear to my heart. It's so the Marketing Club of New York, right? So formerly the Direct Marketing Club of New York. I have my own answer and my own reasons, but I'd love to understand, in addition to, as we said before, your work at Summer Friday, you are the president of the Marketing Club of New York. And why did you first join the organization, and what has been your experience leading it?
Yeah, why I first joined is I found just amazing variety of content. So you mentioned a couple things. Next week is we have a big gala every year where it's honoring people that have been in the industry for 25 years, innovative leaders, primary corporations that receive an honor. It's an amazing event. It's black tie, it's fancy, it's everything you would think of. But then we have, an amazing lunch series, which is how I first learned about the club, where Winterberry Group comes in and does an analysis of the industry and where they forecast it going. And I've gone to that for probably 7 years, and every year find it informative and helpful and take it back and share it with my full team and discuss it with my team to make sure everyone is aware of the shifts in the industry. But then there's lobster cruise and comedy and cocktails that you host, Vince. It's just an amazing variety of events that I find unique in the industry. The other thing is, the ability to get out and network, which is obvious, but the ability to connect with more, junior level or mid-level employees and help kind of build and establish relationships there.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I think, I joined maybe 12 years ago, right? Or maybe 10 as far as like a board member. The reason I joined, and now this is going back 12 years, I'm no longer a young man, but when I was a young man, I really just wanted to join to ensure that people my age at the time were joining. And I had a voice. I do think, I was the youngest board member at the time. And it just, just to kind of get that voice of that quote unquote generation, where you're younger than me. But so when I was there, that's kind of why I joined. And it's been great. I've been different positions, and I've been, I'm bummed that I missed the Silver Apple Awards. It is my 10-year anniversary. Shout out to my wife, Lauren. If it was 9-year or 11-year, I wouldn't do it, but I would do the Silver Apple Awards. But and then I met, partners, I met you there. I met so many other people who I've done work with and I'm friends with. So yeah, it's been great.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I love the organization and the people, and there's so much passion and commitment. It's great to see.
So one of our staple questions that we ask every guest is around LinkedIn. So I'm sure you get a lot of unsolicited messages. What's a message that gets a response from you, and what's one that really annoys you?
Oh, interesting. I probably ignore 90% of them, to be honest. Maybe more than that. Yeah, you're right. I get it. You get a lot. There's a lot of junk, a lot of, kind of assumptive personalities that I try to avoid. But I would say the ones that I actually follow through with are ones that have more meaningful content behind them. Some kind of thought leadership piece that I find interesting, or something that's actually valuable to what I need. versus someone that's, just reaching out and pitching something.
And then the final question for me, if we were meeting at a bar or a restaurant, we'd love to know a little bit about you personally outside of work. What do you like to do? What some of your hobbies are?
Yeah, not as many hobbies now that I have 2 kids, but I coached soccer for years, and now thankfully they are old enough to go out beyond my skills. But my husband and I do a lot of bike races, so we love that. We've done the one in New York for the last 2 years. Our goal is to start traveling to do them, but we're really enjoying that. We live up in Westchester, so we like to go for rides around here, and are kind of slowly training the kids to join us. Before I had kids, I painted a lot. Not to say I am a good painter, but I love painting. It's therapeutic for me, and photography.
Very nice. Yeah, no, that's another thing we have in common. Well, you're not originally, you live in Westchester now. I'm originally from Westchester County. You grew up upstate New York though, right?
Yep, south of Buffalo.
Yeah, which I went to school up in Oswego. AJ went to school up there, and what was the name of that town? I know the school, but not the town.
Canton, New York, St. Lawrence.
Oh, very nice. It's beautiful.
Yeah, upstate. Are you a Buffalo Bills fan, Alicia? Is that? Yeah. Giants almost pulled one out against the Buffalo Bills a couple weeks back.
But
almost.
they did not. Although it's not going to be on a rough week, so
Yeah, I know. Yeah, that was a rough one.
I gotta say, my 10-year-old is become really obsessed with fantasy football, and Josh Allen is his quarterback, so he's now the biggest Bills fan ever.
Oh yeah, he saves my fantasy team every week. Not that I'm doing well, but he helps it.
Yeah, that's a thing now with I notice with little kids. AJ and I have mine is 6, yours is like 9 or 10 now, AJ, right? And there you find, because of fantasy football, they like a lot of different players. You would think there's a ton of like Patrick Mahomes jerseys in New York City. There's Josh Allen, there's a lot of, you're like, oh, Giants and Jets. It's like, no, there's so many different. It's, I didn't know you did fantasy football, Alicia. That's cool. We do one here at Stirista.
We have a company team, so I do it there.
Yep. Yeah. Same here. And last year, AJ and I were first and second. This year, we're like first to second to last so far. Maybe by the time this comes out, I'm making a comeback.
You still have time.
I had a few different, I won 2 in a row. So I've been taking receipts of all those people talking trash to me here at Stirista. So we'll do that. But Alicia, a final thought, anything that you want to share us with? I know you also do a lot of work with, young leaders. You always have time for a lot of the students who come to the marketing club in New York. So talk to us, just a closing thought that you have.
Closing thought. I guess I would say, whatever you do in work, make sure it's something that, 1, you find interesting, and 2, you feel good about it. I think I spent a lot of my career trying to follow the direction of people I disagreed with. And I think being able to stand on my own and do my own thing has made me so much happier. So I would say, I think that's something really interesting with, the newer employees that are coming out, like as we start to get into those Gen Z employees and younger millennials, they really care about where they work. And I think that's so important, so valuable. Like I said, not just is it a fun thing that you're doing, but are you with people you respect and doing something that you can be proud of?
Yeah, no, I agree. And I think, AJ as a leader of a company, right? I think we're seeing that now. It's not just about the job or the salary in a lot of ways. It's about, what are the people I'm working for? What are the reviews of the company? What are the social values of the organization, the diversity and inclusion, right? So it's interesting. I'm glad you're doing a lot of work in that area with that generation. So this has been great, Alicia.
Yeah, thank you so much. This is really great. It's always great to chat with both of you.
Yeah, no, go ahead. You finish that thought. We'd love to hear you were going to say more about that awesome generation. It's not my generation, but it's a great generation.
I was gonna say I had bosses that would always kind of coach me on like how to manage, how to how to promote someone, how to give a review, how to do all of this. And I think there were a lot of cases where I disagreed with them, but thought like they know what they're talking about. I need to do this. I need to follow this this approach. And learning there's many ways to do business, and you should do business on your terms is one
I
of
love
the
it.
most valuable lessons I had.
I love it. And those lessons shine through. It is great to have you on this podcast, Alicia. Keep up the amazing work. You and the team there at Summer Friday. Check them out. Summer Friday. Check out Alicia. Check out the Marketing Club of New York. That's Alicia. I'm Vincent. That's AJ. This has been another episode of The Marketing Stir. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll talk soon.
Thanks for listening to the Marketing Stir podcast from Stirista. Please like, rate, and subscribe. If you're interested in being a guest on the podcast, please email us at themarketingstir@stirista.com. And thanks for listening.